Danny Kaye was one of Hollywood's most versatile entertainers, a comedian, actor, singer, and humanitarian whose talent knew no bounds. From his breakout performances in The Court Jester and White Christmas to his groundbreaking work with UNICEF, Kaye's career was filled with unforgettable moments. But behind the charm and rapid-fire comedy was a man shaped by a troubled childhood, industry battles, and a relentless pursuit of perfection. Today we dive into the fascinating life and legacy of Danny Kaye, the man who made the world laugh while carrying hidden struggles of his own. Danny Kaye, born David Daniel Kaminsky on January 18, 1911, in Brooklyn, New York, was the youngest of 3 sons in a struggling immigrant family. His parents, Jacob and Clara Kaminsky, were Ukrainian Jews who had fled Eastern Europe in search of a better life. But like many immigrant families at the time, they faced immense financial hardship and cultural barriers in their new home. Their small, cramped apartment in a working-class neighborhood left little room for comfort or warmth, and survival meant strict discipline and endless labor. From a young age, Danny experienced both emotional and physical abuse. His father, a hard-working but impatient tailor, had little tolerance for playfulness or mischief, often responding to Danny's natural curiosity with stern discipline. The pressure to conform to traditional expectations was immense, and his 2 older brothers, Larry and Mac, reinforced this by ridiculing and belittling him whenever he stepped out of line. In a household where love was scarce and laughter even scarcer, Danny quickly realized that humor was his only weapon. If he could make his father and brothers laugh, he could avoid their wrath, if only for a moment. This desperate need to diffuse tension through entertainment became his survival mechanism. He discovered he had a natural talent for mimicry, storytelling, and physical comedy, skills that he honed instinctively. But while performing became his escape, it was also a double-edged sword. Every joke, every exaggerated gesture was an attempt to gain the approval he never received at home. His humor wasn't just about making people laugh, it was about proving his worth, about turning pain into something that people would applaud. Despite his intelligence and quick wit, school was a struggle. He had little patience for textbooks or rigid lessons, preferring instead to entertain his classmates with impressions and impromptu performances. Teachers saw him as disruptive, constantly reprimanding him for his antics. His restlessness eventually led him to drop out, much to his father's disappointment. Without a formal education and with few job prospects, he drifted from one menial job to another: soda jerk, dental assistant, butcher's apprentice, never settling, never satisfied. His mother, Clara, was the only soft presence in his life. Though she lacked the power to openly challenge her husband's strict ways, she quietly encouraged Danny's creative nature. She saw the spark in her son, the ability to bring joy to others despite the hardships around him. But her support, while comforting, could not erase the deep-seated insecurities that had already taken root. The lack of paternal affection left wounds that never fully healed. Even as he rose to fame, Danny carried with him a lifelong fear of inadequacy, always needing the applause, the laughter, the validation that had been absent in his childhood. Although he found his way into show business, first in the Catskills, then in vaudeville, and eventually in Hollywood, his relationship with his family remained distant. He rarely spoke about his early years, as if distancing himself from his past would somehow erase it. He never maintained close ties with his brothers, and though he provided for his parents financially later in life, there was no real emotional reconciliation. His childhood had shaped him, but it had also left a void that no amount of fame or success could completely fill. Danny Kaye's early career from 1937 to 1940 was a period of experimentation, persistence, and gradual recognition. he was still finding his place in the entertainment industry, transitioning from performing in small venues to making his Broadway debut. This phase laid the foundation for his later success and helped him refine the signature comedic style that would make him a household name. In 1937, Kaye secured his first film role through a contract with New York-based Educational Pictures, a studio known for producing low-budget two-reel comedies. These films were short, often under 20 minutes, and primarily designed as light entertainment before the main feature in theaters. Kaye typically played a manic, fast-talking Russian, a character type that allowed him to showcase his rapid speech patterns and physical comedy. Though the films were modest productions, they paired him with other rising stars, such as June Allison and Imogene Coca, both of whom would go on to have successful careers of their own. Unfortunately, Kaye's film series came to an abrupt end in 1938 when Educational Pictures shut down due to financial struggles. Despite this setback, Kaye remained determined to build his career. Around this time, he worked under the stage name Danny Kaye while performing in the Catskills, a region known for its thriving resort entertainment scene. The Catskills were a proving ground for many Jewish entertainers, providing them with the opportunity to perform regularly before live audiences and develop their comedic and musical abilities. For Kaye, it was an invaluable experience that helped him perfect his improvisational skills and audience engagement, two qualities that would define his career. His breakthrough came not in film, but on the Broadway stage. In 1939, he was cast in The Straw Hat Review, a short-lived musical comedy revue in which he performed alongside Sylvia Fine, a talented pianist, lyricist, and composer. The show opened on September 29, 1939, but ran for only 10 weeks before closing. Though it was not a commercial success, Kaye's performance caught the attention of critics and industry insiders. His energetic presence, sharp comedic timing, and ability to captivate an audience with his unique style did not go unnoticed. The positive reviews from the Straw Hat Review led to an opportunity at La Martinique, a popular New York City nightclub. Kaye performed there with Sylvia Fine as his accompanist, and their act became a standout attraction. It was at La Martinique that Kaye's career took a decisive turn. One evening, playwright Moss Hart attended one of his performances. Hart was so impressed by Kaye's comedic brilliance and musicality that he cast him in his Broadway comedy Lady in the Dark. This was the moment that truly launched Kaye's career, setting him on the path to becoming one of the most celebrated entertainers of his time. Danny Kaye's career in the 1940s marked his transition from a rising Broadway talent to a full-fledged Hollywood star. The foundation laid in the late 1930s, his work in short films, his breakthrough in the Straw Hat Review, and his success in Lady in the Dark propelled him toward bigger opportunities. By the early 1940s, he was no longer just an up-and-coming performer. He was on the verge of national recognition. His Broadway success led to his first major film opportunity with producer Samuel Goldwyn, who saw Kaye's potential as a leading man. In 1944, Kaye made his feature film debut in Up in Arms, a Technicolor musical comedy that showcased his unique blend of physical humor, rapid speech, and musical talent. The film was a remake of Whoopee, a 1930 Eddie Cantor film, and Goldwyn hoped that Kaye could follow in Cantor's footsteps as a beloved comedic star. However, not everything about his Hollywood transition was smooth. Goldwyn, believing that Kaye's appearance needed to be adjusted for mainstream appeal, suggested he undergo plastic surgery to make his nose less Jewish. Kaye refused, though he did agree to bleach his naturally red hair blonde as it appeared better on Technicolor film. Despite these early studio pressures, Up in Arms was a success, proving that Kaye could carry a feature film. Goldwyn capitalized on his rising popularity, immediately placing him in more starring roles. Around this time, a rival producer, Robert M. Savini, took advantage of Kaye's earlier work in educational picture shorts by repackaging 3 of them into a feature-length compilation titled The Birth of a Star, 1945. While the film was a cash grab, it underscored just how quickly Kaye's fame was growing. Beyond film, Kaye expanded his presence in entertainment through radio. From 1945 to 1946, he starred in The Danny Kaye Show on CBS, a variety program that highlighted his comedic monologues, musical performances, and signature rapid-fire patter. The show became immensely popular, and within a year he tied with Jimmy Durante for 5th place in Radio Daily's popularity poll. However, at the height of its success, Kaye put his career on hold to embark on a USO tour following the end of World War II. He became the first American actor to visit post-war Tokyo, demonstrating his commitment to performing not just for entertainment's sake, but also for morale-boosting efforts. His absence from radio lasted nearly 2 months, during which different guest hosts filled in for him. When he decided to leave the show permanently in mid-1946, he agreed to a contractual obligation not to take on another regular radio program for a year, though he continued to make guest appearances. While Kaye had already proven himself as a film star, his most memorable roles were yet to come. In 1947, he starred in The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, a fantasy comedy that played to his strengths as an imaginative and larger-than-life performer. The film's story, about a timid man escaping into elaborate daydreams, allowed Kaye to showcase his ability to shift between characters, accents, and exaggerated physical expressions, all trademarks of his style. His success continued with The Inspector General, 1949, a musical comedy inspired by Nikolai Gogol's satirical play. The film, in which Kaye played a simpleton mistaken for a high-ranking government inspector, relied heavily on mistaken identity and absurd situations, themes that would recur throughout his career. His ability to seamlessly transition between song, dance, and slapstick humor made him one of the most distinctive comedians of his era. By the end of the decade, Kaye was not just a movie star, he was an international sensation. When he performed at the London Palladium in 1948, he received a reception so rapturous that Life magazine described it as worshipful hysteria. His impact on British audiences was so profound that the royal family, breaking with tradition, left their box seats to watch from the front row. This moment solidified Kaye's place as a global entertainer, and his return invitation to perform at the Royal Variety Performance later that year confirmed his status as one of the most beloved performers of the time. By the early 1950s, Danny Kaye had firmly established himself as one of Hollywood's most beloved entertainers. His rapid ascent through the 1940s, from his Broadway triumphs to his breakout roles in film and radio, had cemented his reputation as a one-of-a-kind performer. But rather than settling into a predictable career path, Kaye continued to expand his reach, taking on new challenges in film, television, live performance, and humanitarian work. The 1950s and beyond saw him evolve from a comedic film star into a global icon, a producer, a television personality, and an influential advocate for social causes. His influence in Hollywood remained strong as he continued to star in major films. In 1952, he hosted the 24th Academy Awards, an event that, at the time, was still only broadcast on radio. His natural charisma and ability to entertain on the fly made him a perfect choice for the role, and it demonstrated his growing influence in the industry. Around the same time, he took on one of his most beloved roles in Hans Christian Andersen, 1952, a semi-biographical musical about the famous Danish storyteller. Though not historically accurate, the film was a commercial success, with Kaye's charming and whimsical performance earning praise from critics and audiences alike. The film's songs, including Wonderful Copenhagen and Inchworm, became some of the most recognizable in Kaye's career. Kaye wasn't just content with acting, he wanted creative control. In 1953, he founded his own production company, Dina Pictures, named after his daughter. The company's first film, Knock on Wood, 1954, was a classic Danny Kaye vehicle, full of physical comedy, fast-paced dialogue, and mistaken identity hijinks. This period also saw him star in one of the most enduring Christmas films of all time, White Christmas, 1954, alongside Bing Crosby. The film, which capitalized on Kaye's comedic chemistry with Crosby and the timeless music of Irving Berlin, became a holiday staple and further solidified his place in cinematic history. One of Kaye's most acclaimed performances came in The Court Jester, 1956, a medieval comedy that showcased his remarkable ability to blend wordplay, slapstick, and musicality. The film included one of his most famous sequences, a rapid-tongued exchange involving the line, "The pellet with the poisons, in the vessel with the pestle, the chalice from the palace has the brew that is true." Though The Court Jester was not a huge box office hit upon release, it later gained a reputation as one of the greatest comedy films of all time. While continuing his film career, Kaye also expanded into television. In 1956, he appeared on CBS's See It Now with Edward R. Murrow, a special that documented his work as a UNICEF ambassador. His commitment to humanitarian efforts was becoming a defining aspect of his life, and his involvement with UNICEF took him on extensive tours across the world, where he combined music and humor to raise awareness for children in need. By the 1960s, Kaye had largely transitioned away from film and into television, where he found a new audience. His self-titled variety show, The Danny Kaye Show, ran from 1963 to 1967 and won 4 Emmy Awards, as well as a Peabody Award. The show featured a mix of comedy sketches, musical performances, and guest appearances, further showcasing Kaye's versatility as an entertainer. It was during this time that he also became the official host of the CBS telecasts of The Wizard of Oz, introducing the classic film to a new generation of viewers. As he moved into the 1970s and 1980s, Kaye continued to perform, though at a slower pace. In 1976, he took on the role of Geppetto in a television adaptation of Pinocchio, and later portrayed Captain Hook in a musical version of Peter Pan opposite Mia Farrow. He made guest appearances on The Muppet Show and The Cosby Show, delighting audiences with his signature humor. Kaye also proved his resilience when he suffered injuries that could have derailed his career. In the early 1970s, he tore a ligament in his leg during a production of the Richard Rodgers musical 2x2. Rather than stepping away, he continued performing, this time in a wheelchair, incorporating it into his routine with the same comedic brilliance that had defined his career. He had done something similar in 1964 on his television show after a cooking accident left his foot and leg burned. Clever camera work kept his injury hidden, allowing him to continue entertaining without interruption. His final years were marked by a continued dedication to philanthropy. His work with UNICEF remained one of his greatest legacies, and he frequently conducted orchestras and comedic fundraising concerts for the organization. Though he had never learned to read music, his natural sense of rhythm and theatrical flair made these performances both impressive and humorous. Danny Kaye's influence was not limited to film and television. his contributions to music were equally remarkable. Though he often claimed he could not read music, he had an exceptional ear and was said to possess perfect pitch. His musical career, like his acting, was defined by versatility. He seamlessly transitioned from comedic novelty songs to heartfelt ballads, captivating audiences with his distinct vocal delivery and charismatic stage presence. His musical journey began in the 1940s alongside his burgeoning film and radio career. In 1945, while hosting the Danny Kaye Show on CBS Radio, he performed several hit songs, including Dinah and Minnie the Moocher. His natural rhythm and dynamic vocal style made his musical numbers just as entertaining as his comedy. In 1947, Kaye collaborated with the Andrews Sisters, one of the most popular singing groups of the time, on Decca Records. Their first major hit, Civilization, Bongo, 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 climbed to number 3 on the Billboard charts, proving that Kaye's appeal extended beyond visual performances. Their partnership continued through 1950, producing several rhythmically playful and humorous songs, including the Woody Woodpecker song, Put 'em in a Box, Tie 'em with a Ribbon, and Throw 'em in the Deep Blue Sea, and the Big Brass Band from Brazil. Their Christmas recordings, particularly A Merry Christmas at Grandmother's House and All I Want for Christmas Is My Two Front Teeth, became seasonal favorites, further cementing Kaye's place in popular music. Kaye's early solo recordings also gained attention. His debut album, Columbia Presents Danny Kaye, 1942, featured songs performed with orchestral accompaniment. While the album was well received, it was not until later in the 1940s and 1950s that his musical persona truly flourished. In 1950, he scored another hit with I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts, a whimsical song that demonstrated his ability to blend comedy with catchy melodies. Perhaps his most significant musical success came with Hans Christian Andersen, 1952, the semi-biographical musical film that introduced audiences to several timeless songs. Two of the film's tracks, Thumbelina and Wonderful Copenhagen, became especially popular, with the latter reaching number 5 on the UK singles chart. Kaye's heartfelt performances in the film showcased a softer, more sentimental side to his musical talents. Following the success of Hans Christian Andersen, Kaye recorded Danny at the Palace, 1953, a live album capturing his energy as a stage performer, and Knock on Wood, 1954, a collection of songs from his film of the same name. His recordings continued to balance humor and musicality, solidifying his status as a singer-comedian rather than a conventional vocalist. In 1956, Kaye signed a 3-year contract with Capitol Records, further expanding his discography. One of his most touching songs, Choo Choo Bella, was inspired by a mission for UNICEF in Rome, where he befriended a young child with polio who sang the song for him in Italian. His ability to connect music with emotion, whether through comedy or sentimentality, made his performances truly special. His musical career extended into the late 1950s with Mary Andrew, 1958, a film in which he played a school teacher turned circus performer. The soundtrack, composed by Saul Chaplin and Johnny Mercer, featured 6 original songs sung by Kaye. Around the same time, he starred in The Five Pennies, 1959, a film based on the life of jazz musician Red Nichols, in which he performed alongside the legendary Louis Armstrong. The film allowed Kaye to immerse himself in jazz, demonstrating a deeper appreciation for musical storytelling. Beyond recording and film, Kaye's musical abilities extended into orchestral conducting, a surprising feat considering he had no formal training in music. In the 1960s and 1970s, he regularly conducted world-renowned symphonies, often using humor and theatrical gestures to engage audiences. His unconventional style, which included antics like trading his baton for a fly swatter while conducting the flight of the bumblebee, entertained audiences while raising funds for charity. His ability to lead an orchestra was praised by esteemed conductors like Dmitri Mitropoulos and Zubin Mehta, with Mitropoulos once stating, "Here is a man who is not musically trained, who cannot even read music, and yet he gets more out of my orchestra than I have." Danny Kaye's marriage to Sylvia Fine was a complex and deeply layered relationship, filled with love, ambition, and undeniable tensions. They were more than just husband and wife. They were partners in every sense of the word, creatively, professionally, and personally. Fine was instrumental in shaping Kaye's career, crafting his signature comedic songs and helping refine his stage presence. She didn't just support his talent, she cultivated it, managed it, and ensured that he became one of the most distinctive performers of his time. Their bond was undeniable, but their marriage was far from conventional. From the very beginning, Kaye's charisma, wit, and charm made him irresistible to many, and rumors of his extramarital affairs circulated widely. Hollywood was rife with speculation about his relationships with famous women, including actress Eve Arden, British royal Princess Margaret, and Shirley MacLaine. Some of these rumored affairs were brief, while others were said to be more emotionally significant. Though none were ever publicly confirmed, they were openly discussed in industry circles, adding layers of intrigue to Kaye's seemingly perfect marriage. One of the most persistent and controversial rumors surrounding Kaye's personal life was his alleged long-term romantic relationship with Laurence Olivier. Some biographers and Hollywood insiders claimed that Kaye and Olivier shared more than just a close friendship, suggesting that their bond was, in fact, a deeply personal and secretive affair. These speculations were fueled by Kaye's flamboyant stage persona and Olivier's own complicated personal life. However, Kaye's close friend, Robert McElwain, repeatedly denied these claims, asserting that while the two men spent time together, there was never any definitive proof of a romantic connection. Kaye himself never addressed the rumors, allowing them to circulate without confirmation or denial. Sylvia Fine was acutely aware of Kaye's alleged affairs, but she chose to remain silent, refusing to let them disrupt the empire they had built together. She was pragmatic, fiercely intelligent, and understood that Kaye's restless need for attention extended beyond their marriage. Yet, she also believed that no matter where he went or whom he was with, he would always return to her. Their relationship was built on something deeper than conventional romance. It was a partnership rooted in mutual dependence. Kaye needed her guidance as much as she needed his talent to bring her compositions to life. Fine's approach to her husband's infidelity was unusual by traditional standards, but it reflected a deeper understanding of Kaye's personality. She knew that he craved adoration, both on and off stage. His need for validation, which had been ingrained in him since childhood, often manifested in his relationships. He thrived on attention, and his natural charisma made him magnetic to those around him. While many Hollywood marriages crumbled under the weight of infidelity, Fine never let it threaten her control over Kaye's career or her place in his life. Despite their unconventional arrangement, they remained married for over 4 decades. Their only child, Danny Kaye, was born in 1946, and while Kaye was often consumed by his career, he was said to be a devoted father. In private, he was playful and affectionate with his daughter, a stark contrast to the high-energy persona he projected on stage. However, his demanding schedule meant that he was often away for long periods, leaving Fine to maintain the stability of their household. Their marriage survived years of rumors, infidelity, and professional pressures. not because it was free of conflict, but because both Kaye and Fine understood that they were stronger together than apart. Even as Kaye sought companionship elsewhere, it was Fine who remained the most influential figure in his life, the one who had shaped his success, managed his career, and stood by him through everything. She was the person who ensured that his legacy would endure, even if their marriage was not one of traditional fidelity. Danny Kaye was a man of many relationships, some personal, some professional, and some that blurred the line between the two. While his marriage to Sylvia Fine was the most significant and enduring bond of his life, he also cultivated deep and complicated connections with other figures, ranging from close friends and colleagues to rumored lovers. These relationships not only shaped his career, but also added to the mystique surrounding his personal life. Among the most steadfast presences in Kaye's life was Robert McElwain, his longtime publicist and close confidant. McElwain was not just a media strategist. He was one of the few people who truly understood Kaye beyond the stage persona. He managed Kaye's image, ensuring that his public reputation remained untarnished despite the numerous rumors surrounding his personal life. McElwain was fiercely protective of Kaye, often downplaying or outright dismissing allegations about his affairs and rumored relationships. When speculation about Kaye's supposed romance with Laurence Olivier became a topic of Hollywood gossip, it was McElwain who insisted there was no truth to it. According to him, while Kaye and Olivier spent considerable time together and had a deep mutual respect, their bond was purely platonic. Yet despite McElwain's denials, the rumors persisted. Kaye's connection to Olivier was unusual for the time, an intensely close friendship between two men who were both at the height of their fame, yet had vastly different public personas. Olivier, the epitome of classical acting, and Kaye, the playful, larger-than-life comedian, seemed like an unlikely pair. But their relationship fascinated many, leading to endless speculation. Some claimed that Kaye's frequent visits to Olivier's home, his open admiration for the actor, and their seemingly inseparable companionship pointed to something beyond friendship. Whether there was any truth to the rumors or not, the ambiguity only added to Kaye's enigmatic public image. Outside of Olivier, Kaye's social circle included a number of high-profile figures from the entertainment industry, politics, and even royalty. He was particularly close to British Princess Margaret, with whom he was rumored to have had an affair. Margaret, known for her rebellious streak and attraction to charismatic, unconventional men, was said to have been enamored by Kaye's wit and energy. Though neither ever confirmed the nature of their relationship, their frequent encounters led to whispers in both Hollywood and Buckingham Palace. Kaye also had a well-documented friendship with Shirley MacLaine, another woman rumored to have been more than just a friend. MacLaine, known for her free-spirited nature and willingness to challenge societal norms, often spoke fondly of Kaye. While there was no public acknowledgement of a romance, their chemistry was evident, and many believed their relationship extended beyond mere camaraderie. Beyond his personal relationships, Kaye was known for his ability to charm nearly everyone he met. His magnetism was not limited to romantic connections. He had a rare ability to make people feel as though they were the center of his world, even in fleeting encounters. This skill served him well in both his career and his humanitarian work, allowing him to build lasting relationships with influential figures. Danny Kaye's final years were marked by declining health, but he remained active, continuing to entertain and engage in humanitarian work. His lifelong energy, which had fueled his performances and captivated audiences around the world, began to wane as health complications arose. In 1983, he underwent quadruple bypass surgery, a major procedure that saved his life but also introduced new complications. It was during this surgery that he contracted hepatitis C from a blood transfusion, a disease that would ultimately contribute to his death. Despite his health struggles, Kaye did not retreat from public life. He continued to make appearances, support UNICEF, and even conduct orchestras, one of his favorite pastimes in his later years. His ability to bring humor and warmth to everything he did remained unchanged, even as his body weakened. Friends and colleagues recalled that even in his most difficult moments, he never lost the spark that had defined his career. On March 3, 1987, Danny Kaye passed away from heart failure at the age of 76. His death was caused by internal bleeding and complications from hepatitis C, a tragic consequence of the medical procedure that had once saved his life. His passing marked the end of an era. One of Hollywood's most unique and multifaceted entertainers was gone. His ashes were interred at Kensico Cemetery in Valhalla, New York, a quiet resting place for a man who had spent his life surrounded by applause. Though his death was a great loss, his legacy endured. He had been more than just a comedian or an actor. He was a storyteller, a musician, a humanitarian, and an irreplaceable force in the entertainment industry. His work influenced generations of performers who admired his ability to blend humor, music, and movement into something entirely his own. Yet as time passed, Kaye's name began to fade from mainstream recognition. Unlike some of his contemporaries who remained cultural icons long after their deaths, Kaye's legacy became more niche, cherished primarily by classic film enthusiasts and those who had witnessed his brilliance firsthand. Some of his films, like White Christmas and The Court Jester, maintained their place in cinematic history, regarded as some of the greatest comedies ever made. But other parts of his career, his radio work, his Broadway performances, and even his impact on television, became less widely remembered. In 1988, he was posthumously inducted into the American Theater Hall of Fame, a recognition of his immense contributions to stage and screen. His influence on entertainment, however, was not limited to accolades. Many of the elements he introduced, his rapid-fire comedic style, his ability to seamlessly mix song and humor, and his gift for physical comedy, became standard tools for performers who followed. Beyond his artistic legacy, Kaye's humanitarian work continued to inspire. His contributions to UNICEF had raised millions of dollars, and his efforts to use entertainment as a means of social change set a precedent for future celebrity philanthropists. He had demonstrated that fame could be more than just a tool for personal success. It could be a platform for making a real difference in the world.